Hi, I'm Peter Trego and welcome to the Clubhouse. I hope everyone's keeping safe in this remarkable time that we're all having stuck indoors during this coronavirus outbreak. Just a quick message from the start from myself and everyone at the Clubhouse. Do the right thing, stay indoors, look after the NHS, and by doing that, you'll be saving a lot of lives. So we were looking to launch the Clubhouse this month, which was very exciting. We organised some fantastic things, going out and about and, filming in loads of different brilliant locations, but you're stuck here in my office, unfortunately. But these are the measures we have to take. But we thought it would create a great opportunity for me to catch up with some sporting buddies around the world and have a bit of a chat. So my first two guests, gives me great pleasure, actually, because it's our first show. I basically guaranteed they're going to take the mick out of me. We're going to take the mick out of each other. I'm going to have a few stinkers, but it's absolutely great because I'm doing it in the company of two ex-teammates and England superstars. On my left, I have Jos Buttler, who looks like he's been on the Castaway Island. I reckon he looks like he's at least 8 weeks into his isolation. And I have just squeezing his massive head into shot, England off spinner, Bess. Welcome, lads. And I suppose the first question has to be, how are you coping with this isolation situation? Bessie, you go first, my man.
Well, I've decided to get COS and buy online, and stupidly I only got a month, so I'll have to renew that. But I've just been getting on the assault bike and then getting on COS, which Phoebe's, my girlfriend's, not too happy about, to be honest.
COS?
Quite a long
COS. What is this?
Call of Duty. Surely you know what Call of Duty is. Yeah, COD.
Oh, it sounded like COS. Isolation going to COS. That's place. It's an island in Greece, isn't it? So you're gaming your life away at the moment and doing a little bit of work on the older site assault bike. Joseph, what are you doing apart from sticking your fingers in plug sockets by the looks of it?
Yeah, I'm just growing the mop out, trying to be Pete the Pirate of 2010. And actually, we've actually been really enjoying isolation so far. We just spent some time at home. Georgia, our 11-month-old baby, is keeping us very busy. So yeah, we're doing all right. If we don't turn on the TV, we're just having a very nice time.
I suppose that is the benefit of doing the jobs we do. The lucky thing is, and especially, not for dinosaurs like me, but for you two who are doing so much traveling away, it's actually probably quite a nice little, well, I suppose it's not a nice break. You can't put this into the category of nice, but like you say, you guys would have both flown home relatively urgently from the Sri Lanka tour. What was the situation over there, and how did that news get broken to you?
I'll go. Yeah, it was. Let's say.
Don't just buy me.
Trying to be polite. Yeah, when we left for Sri Lanka, it was something that was happening in China. You didn't think it was going to be a worldwide epidemic, and we looking forward to the tour as normal. And I'd say after the first warm-up game, still thinking probably the same. But I think as soon as we got into the start of the second warm-up game, I think the Premier League football was shutting down. The Prime Minister was going to make an announcement, and suddenly I think we all felt quite far from home, and I personally just couldn't see how the tour was going to go ahead. So it felt inevitable that at some point that it was going to get cancelled. And actually we were the cricket had sort of gone a bit quality had gone
window, wasn't it?
It
was strange. We kept going down on the in the morning, weren't we? And we kept getting like messages from the doctor. We were almost like turning up to breakfast, waiting to hear something. And certainly when we got to that second game, obviously we bowled the second day. We were out in the field, and Ruti obviously went off, and we probably probably knew that something was going on. And then drinks break came, and we were just told that the game was going to be canned, and we were heading home the following night.
Isn't that like the worst cricket scenario, isn't it? least you could have been batting. You had to do all the dirty work in the field, and then you get binned off. Absolute savage. And the transition between, you know, closing down the game and flying home, pretty rapid response from the ECB and everyone involved.
Yeah, it was quick.
Yeah,
we were
brilliant, I reckon. Got us out the next. I think they couldn't get everyone out that night, so flew home the next day. And then I think the ECB doctor Gurge, he had quite a lot of headaches and did not much sleep for a few days, but he did a hell of a job trying to keep 20 blokes who were asking him all these questions and coming up with stupid scenarios. Sam Curran being an expert doctor, which is not ideal. But yeah, he did a good job to sort of keep everyone calm and everyone got home and now we're still in this situation.
Was there like a hierarchical sort of situation with who flew home first? You know, Rooty, managers, Jos somewhere sort of in the top half, Bessie at the bottom with the old cone dropper and the master slinger.
Bessie and Nut at the bottom. How it should be. Actually, Nut would have been high up on it, considering his win. He was right.
Yeah, he's old Leach. He's had a rough time. We actually had him up to the studios. We were going to go and watch a game of Bristol City football together for one of our first Clubhouse episodes. He was in good form, but man, that guy's had some bad luck over the last 12 months, hasn't he? Poor bugger.
Yeah, he's been struggling. Certainly in New Zealand, obviously, that was like very tough for him. But I think he was more. He's somewhere in Taunton now, hiding in a cave. I reckon he's trying to stay away from everyone. And he bought. I texted him the other day, and he bought an assault bike and a ski cow, and he was prepping that. And he got his ski cow, but he forgot to get the stand on it, so he's had to build it into his garage. Had to build it into his garage, which I don't think he's too happy about.
That's pretty extreme, isn't it? I've never seen the bloke ski in my life either. It's not even interested in it.
Eddie the Eagle, take two.
I was going to say he's got well, like the two of us, Josh. He's got the hooter for a bit of Eddie the Eagle. He's like a Concorde, isn't he?
Yeah, he'd get an extra yard, wouldn't
he? Definitely. So we've covered yourself off, Bessie, with the old assault bike. You're obviously keeping yourself fit with the assault bike. Jos, obviously, you've been keeping yourself fit in quite a unique way. Obviously, your exploits with Mrs. Buttler has been very, very good value to watch. All the is it the London Pilates studio that she's running now? Quite an experience seeing you do down dog in your wicket keeping kit.
Yes, we're flying. We fancy dress Fridays, so we'll get you in next time, Peter. I'm sure you'll be welcome to a bit of dressing up. You'll be well bored in 5 days' time, so you'll have something going on.
I'm in for it. I'll put my banana man suit on.
Your mankini.
You know it. And obviously, you know, the little one, as you mentioned, obviously. Are you venturing out much at all with the little one, or are you just really trying to stay isolated? I know obviously the government have put out sort of directions, an hour of time going out for a walk or something. Obviously, I'm walking down the cricket club with the dogs, but is it different for yourself? Because you're not too bad, Bessie. You'll be in Taunton, but being in London, is that a bit more of a concern for you, mate?
Maybe a little bit. I think London's obviously going to be the place which gets hit the hardest in England. We just go out for a walk once a day. It's funny because you'd feel like you're just in a quiet town, or it's like a holiday. It's holiday period, and there's not many people around. But you'd still say there's still quite a lot of people around. I'd say there's obviously a lot of people in London, so maybe everyone's just getting out and exercising, but you certainly still feel like you see a lot of people, although our street is certainly a lot it's quite strange. You walk down the middle of the road in London, which you'd never be able to do. And but yeah, I think we're just it's like I said, we're actually, things haven't changed loads for us because Georgia's only 11 months, so she's crawling around the house. It's perfect for, she doesn't looking out the window wanting to go outside or need to run around. So we're quite lucky in that sense. But it's certainly aware, in London, you certainly know there's lots of people around, and even still with the lockdown, I'd say there's still quite a few people out on the common.
Yeah, well, to be fair, the places where you live in London, obviously you got the Queen one side and Elton John the other, so you're in good company, aren't you, on your road?
Prince Charlie's gone down, then. Let's take care of it.
So let's go back to having a little talk about on tour. Obviously, going on a tour with your county teammates, that's one thing. But when you're touring with England, and obviously you've got players coming from all the different teams, what's that like? And who are the guys that you sort of gravitate towards in terms of like the banter and the fun times? Who are the real sort of ringleaders off the park to keep yourselves sane when you obviously tour places where there are some sort of, like, I suppose, concerns in terms of going outside the hotel? It must take a special individual to keep you all occupied. Who's that man?
I'm fairly new to it, but I guess obviously there's lads who get their consoles out and get their PS4s and Xboxes out. I think in general, obviously you got like Stokes, the Curran, Buttler. No, you played a little bit, haven't you? Popey, get the PS4s out, plays. But other than that, there's a couple as well who play cards. Buttler, Crawley, Denley. I'm in there a little bit. Get the old cards out and go old school, which has been quite entertaining. Certainly was in South Africa anyway.
So the majority of the entertainment is like FIFA and that game COS, that Greek island that you mentioned. Lads love a bit of COS.
It's actually quite.
It's a bit of, especially a place like Sri Lanka, like Call of Duty was getting hammered a bit. But then actually this winter, I've really most days enjoying Matt Parkinson's been quite good value. He's just like a 45-year-old club spinner, the way he carries on, and he can probably talk under he speaks that much, so he's been quite entertaining. And then I reckon Leachy's a good go-to man. Leachy's always, even though he's had his trouble, he's always up and about, and he's the good best front row ever. He laughs at all your jokes as well, Trees.
Yeah, he's an absolute legend, isn't he? To be fair, I think Leachy's one of those rare individuals that he doesn't know he's as funny as he is, does he? He's just an absolute classic.
Yeah.
I think I'm funny. Yeah. I think I'm funny, and I'm obviously clearly not. Thanks, Josh. But Leachy's just one of those blokes you just want around, don't you? He's just an absolute belter, a giver of energy. But Bessie,
Yeah.
Bessie, obviously slightly newer to the England environment. Talk us through that. Is it a nervous situation, or do you just basically get on your hands and knees and get the old tongue out for the coaches, trying to get the old brownie points in? What's the situation? How have you played it?
I think the game of pig in the morning is crucial. Get involved in that. You try and
please explain for the novices. I don't know pig and I don't know COS.
Pig football game, because obviously we're banned at football now. So lads, there's group. You get probably 5 or 6 of you, and you got to keep the ball up in the air. And then obviously, if you lose, you start on P, and then IG, and then you get flicked to the forehead. And usually it's either Parkinson or Bess. I was usually the one who got nailed a bit in Sri Lanka, but Parky in South Africa did get a battering, and that was quite funny. It's quite funny to stitch up there.
That's interesting, actually, because the football warm up has been a massive thing since the dawn of time with cricket. Is that what you're doing? You're playing these new games. I mean, I'm assuming football's an absolute no, because to be fair though, I even slowed it down on my phone, the footage. That was a filthy from the behind tackle from Root. I was not happy with that. That is a straight red for me. Very cynical. Has he taken a bit of grief? Has he taken a bit of grief for that? I think he deserved it.
I think actually Burns is quite a tough guy as well. So when you saw him limping off, because I think he likes to get stuck in. So that's actually a big worry when it was so. You're not worried about thinking, oh, is he going to be fit for the game tomorrow? You're thinking he needs to get fit, because otherwise football's gone forever.
That was definitely the priority.
There was a funny one before that as well, actually. Ball went up and Parky's obviously got two hands as feet, and he went straight into the back of Popey, and it got put on Daily Mail as like football breaks out, and there's this horror photo of Parky studs up straight into Popey's ankle, which is quite entertaining. And then the day later, that happened.
Dangerous thing, isn't it? That's the most dangerous thing. Someone who doesn't know how to play football. I can remember getting stamped on by Errol Sapaya at Guildford, and he literally studded me, cricket stud, from my knee, and at the bottom near my sock was just a rolled up bit of skin. And you know those cuts that go white for ages before they start bleeding? I was absolutely livid. After like third or fourth punch I got into him, I calmed down, but absolutely savage, properly savage. So let's move on slightly from football, and go back to obviously what's facing us all cricketers in the summer now. Jos first, I think. Obviously, it's going to be a bit of effect to your calendar, what you've got coming up. Obviously, it's looking relatively doubtful. Is it fair to say that the IPL is gonna not really happen?
Yeah, definitely. Like you say, a huge change to everyone's calendar. I think I'd say cricket just looks indefinitely suspended, I would say, at the moment, until things drastically change. Especially to play in front of a crowd, I think things will have to be very different. And I think one of the big problems with the IPL, and if it spreads badly in India, there's so many people in India. Places are so crowded. The grounds are packed out with fanatical support. So, and if you even could consider playing behind closed doors, if there's Virat Kohli or MS Dhoni is at a cricket ground, hundreds and thousands of people are going to want to stand anywhere near that cricket ground to just get a sight of them. So, I'd say the IPL looks, very, very doubtful to go ahead. In the next few months, whether it could be rescheduled this year, we'll have to wait and see. But it feels like all cricket, to be honest, and all sport is very much indefinitely suspended, and hopefully things for everyone, for not just sport, can improve quickly, and we can get back out there at some point.
Yeah, it's super frustrating. And Bessie, I suppose, let's face it, we are going to have a condensed summer cricket-wise. So maybe hypothetically, we might have 2-3 months of the season. If you were the top man at the ECB, which I'm sure you will be one day, how would you schedule the game, and what would you prioritise? What would your fixture calendar look like?
I think white ball's got to take number one spot. Just try and get the money back into the game, and obviously shorter format as well. I think get people, if there's ever a time, I reckon, after whatever happens here, is I think people want to go out and watch anything, and I want to be out and about. I certainly think T20 white ball cricket's going to probably dominate this summer, or the rest of whatever is going to be this summer. So I think red ball's going to have to take a sort of back seat. But then with that as well, I think Test cricket and international cricket then again's got to be probably the number one, just for revenue and money, and get people back watching. I think it's going to be a fascinating next couple of months. But again, the number one's obviously when it's safe and when everything's sort of going back to normal. We don't want to be risking anything. Be interesting if they want to do it behind closed doors once everything's sort of gradually getting back to normal. But it is strange not seeing any sort of sport on. I mean, yesterday I was sat watching 2002 rugby, the England-Australia game, watching Wilco kick some points, and it was funny because it was like nothing was on, and it's, do you know what I mean? Usually you're so used to seeing live sport. So I think once it does come back, hopefully there could be a good boom and people wanting to come out and watch cricket. And I think the number one then's got to be the T20 stuff.
And the 100 ball. what are your thoughts? Is that something that might have to be postponed to next year? Do you think that's the way to go and just get our domestic season done? Because, like I said, the time's going to be very, very tight. But then again, like you say, when the floodgates do open and people get the chance to go to a sporting event, I mean, I go to the opening of me next door's garage at the moment just to get out of the bloody house. So you imagine when the 100 ball starts, it could actually be a massive boom in terms of spectators because, like I said, people are going to be buzzing to go to a live event.
Yeah, I think it could be that possibility of doing the 100 ball maybe, and then or doing the T20 first maybe as a sort of build up, and then going into that 100 ball because get people on side almost and get that domestic. So you got a bit of both. I think obviously the main thing is going to be the revenue that comes in, and probably what the ECB have pumped into this 100 ball. They might need it. So
I want a bit back, you
so,
say.
yeah, I certainly think the 100 and the T20 is going to be key, and I think county championship is going to take probably the last seat in the pecking order.
So, just last couple of questions, lads. Let's talk about being a West Country man, travelling.
How's it like? For you must find that it's obviously so frustrating for everyone, but obviously new county, raring to go, must be incredibly frustrating. How are you managing your, actual genuine question for you? How's that look for you? It's obviously a really tough situation for yourself.
Tell you what, Josh, you're going to end up having it. You're trying to nick my job, aren't you? Eh? He's asked the first decent question. We've been going for 30 minutes. You've asked the first decent question, but no, thanks for that. No, I appreciate that you care, mate. I'll tell you what, it's been so frustrating because the back end of last year, I wasn't sure what was happening. Obviously, I was with Somerset and we won the trophy and everything was rosy and like the door got sort of shut there, and it probably took me a couple of months to realize, I'm not ready to finish here, and I think I've got a bit to give. So, as you know, back in the gym, getting fit, had some unbelievably good conversations with Peter Moores, the Notts head coach, and I've been up there for the last 3 months, and you get a sense of I've been playing for 20 years now. I've really got a sense that the game in many ways has really clicked. So like I've obviously kept myself physically right to play the game. But I've been training so damn well, and it is literally a real hammer blow because obviously at my age now, I'm 39 this summer. You know, as a sportsman, you lose 12, you lose a season of your career. That's massive. And I'm looking at my 2 years that I've signed with Notts as a real sort of opportunity to do some great things at a big club. Probably leads me nicely into the question I was going to ask you about being a West Country lad going away. Obviously, Bessie went out on loan to Yorkshire. You're up at Lancashire now. I'm now playing for Notts. All test match grounds, so they come with a certain amount of pressure, I guess, but also, playing for your home county is a very special thing, as we both know. Something I've absolutely loved and been really proud of. But then again, you go to a test match ground and you just walk through those gates and, you've seen them on the TV and you've watched the 2005 Ashes and, you can't help but think, geez, I've got to put in a real shift here. And like I said, we were 3-4 weeks away from our first pre-season game. And it's a hammer blow. And I'm not the only one that feels like it. I mean, you guys, Bessie, new to, the England setup. He's done really well. He's going, touring Sri Lanka, where it's going to spin. So there's a bloody good chance you're going to be playing. Yourself, Jos, place where you've had great success yourself, Sri Lanka. You've got the IPL, all the cash. There's so many different. Every sportsman is going to be in a really weird place. But actually, because I've had so much time to think, it's when things like this happen, whether you're the bloke labouring on a building site or you're a professional sportsman, we're all going through a very similar thing. you've had your job, the thing that you like doing that pays your bills, taken away from you, and it's incredibly frustrating. Especially, I'm not saying it's any worse because I'm an old bastard, but it's quite scary, really, of what could happen. Because when we go back, is the club now going to suddenly prioritise younger players because we've had this 4-month off? I mean, it does open up a massive can of worms. Not sure I've even answered your question there, bud, but yeah, I've given it a good crack. Haven't I? 17 minutes and counting. But yeah, so West Country boys on tour. We were all three of us born in the West Country. Going to these big cities, these big grounds, how have you found that? Because to be honest, the Notts boys have absolutely rinsed my accent. I thought I spoke the Queen's English. And every time I go in and say good morning, lads, they're like, all right, farmer. Absolutely ruining me. Have you had the same?
I certainly got that when I was up at Yorkshire. But I tell you what, actually, we won one game and they brought in all the Budweiser and stuff, and Mick Cadmore, the dressing room attendant, brought me a can of Thatcher's. It's made me I was quite happy with that. Nice gold Thatcher's. Yeah, it was.
I'll tell you what, that's amazing you've said that, because Thatcher's, we want them to sponsor this show. So come on, Martin, get your wallet out.
Just plugging.
And you, Jos, obviously, I think, was it your first year where you had an unbelievable game in a Roses match, a T20? Am I right in saying that? Was it first or second Roses match where you had a real blinder?
Yes, I was at Headingley as well, which was so that was nice. I think, like you say, from being West Country, obviously Gloucester's always our sort of big derby, the one people get really excited about, but the level that sort of Yorkshire, Lancashire, that sort of real passion and not hatred, but that sort of huge competition. Yeah. So, and for me, I don't have that emotional attachment to the game, but to see what it means to the other lads in the dressing room, they're all looking out for that game every year when fixtures come out. Have to beat Yorkshire, home and away. And it's a huge night. And I say playing at international venues, Old Trafford gets, for those Roses game, it sells out like an international. There's 20-odd thousand in. The atmosphere is just the same as playing an international game. It's a brilliant nights to be involved in. And so that, they're such massive games for those clubs as well. And I think, like you say, that expectation at test match grounds, I think that was one thing I certainly felt when I joined Lang as well. Somerset as still like the Somerset kid, and you're a local lad. Everyone knows you from the academy, and you're a local lad, and it's all right if you're doing okay because you're a local boy. But that signing for Lancashire, suddenly you've been brought in as at that level. You're expected to perform at a certain level, so you sort of lose that sort of leeway. Not that you should have it anyway, but certainly gives you a lot of motivation and expectation to perform. So, and I think the move for me actually has been so good for my development as a cricketer and also as a player, sort of learning to deal with that expectation.
Yeah, I actually do feel the same. I mean, Bessie, obviously going on loan. I mean, it's probably something you didn't want to do in an ideal world, but did you get that same sort of growth experience going to Yorkshire?
Yeah, for sure. I'm like walking in, and especially Yorkshire, I feel always had that sort of big reputation of a lot of good players have gone through, and I had that certain pressure. And like Josh said about the T20, obviously I played at the Headingley one, and the Old Trafford one got rained out, but I haven't played much T20 as well, and that atmosphere was ridiculous. I'm quite close to a couple of the Lancs lads, and sort of walking past Al Davis and Parky and Sat Mahmood, giving me absolutely nothing. I didn't really get it only until after. Well, probably got it then that it was a proper game, and like you say, it's not hatred, but it's pretty close too. The rivalry in there was ridiculous, but then also playing in that, it's slightly different to what I've seen at Taunton. Obviously, Taunton's a great T20 night with 12,000, well, 8,000 that you get, but it's so different to what I experienced up at Yorkshire. And like you say, the Test match ground was very special. Like for me personally, it was quite interesting because I'm in my last year at Somerset, and obviously with Leachy, the situation there, it's this summer. I was obviously hoping to get my foot in the door a little bit more with the white ball stuff, and I feel like it's gone out the window a little bit, and it's going to be a really odd sort of summer, sort of going into that, considering it's my last year. So, I mean, I'm probably in one of the better positions, saying I've just come off the sort of England trips, so I'm quite fortunate with that. But it's still going to be a very interesting time, and then financially as well with the clubs, it's going to be obviously that's going to take a big hit, or they're going to take a big hit now. So yeah, it's going to be a fascinating sort of year. But I certainly did enjoy my time up at Yorkshire. It was good fun.
Yeah, it is different, isn't it? Yeah, like I said, I felt the same way. You get energized, don't you, by different people, a new group. But obviously, Bessie, you slightly missed out on this, because I think when you joined Somerset, I was Mr. Ultra professional, in the gym all the time, you know, doing all those things. Probably quite a boring teammate in many ways. Jos had a slightly different experience coming into the team. I can remember, I'm going to take you back a few years now, Jos, when, I mean, you won't, I think you do know this, but you wouldn't have known it at the time. Brian Rose, the director of cricket at the time, came to me, and Ian Blackwell, my roommate at the time, and myself and Ian, you know, back in the day, our sort of standard evening was a trip to the pub, a bit of a pub meal and a couple of pints before the day's play. You know, we were pretty old school back then. And Rosie sat us both down and said, there's this young lad on the academy. He's showing a lot of promise. But I think really to take him to the next level, he needs you two to chaperone him on a trip this winter to India. And Rosie handed me a fistful of rupees and said, this boy needs a life experience. It gave me a bit of a wink. So, Jos, if you can cast your mind back, what was that trip like for you?
Certainly an eye-opener, that was for sure. I can't remember. I actually think, having been back to India a few times now, we went to Leopold's. I remember that was one of the haunts you took me to. And then we went to, I think it's the rooftop on the Intercontinental Hotel. And they were serving beer in those big towers. And I remember, I think it was 16 probably at the time. Being like, I've got, you know, these lads are, you know, the big dogs at Somerset, and I was watching you two drink, thinking that's fair pace. But I actually I wasn't really talking either, so I was literally just filling up my beer, trying to drink as fast as I could to try and impress the two of you. And then I think we staggered out of that place, and you two just sort of pushed me towards the CCI chambers and carried on and got in a tuk-tuk and went off somewhere else. And I remember waking up the next day. Was that the same trip when that bloke bowled me about 5 times in a row, that like Wazzy Makram lookalike, and the two of you just in hysterics watching from behind the net. So that's certainly a bit different from Cheddar to you two taking me out in Mumbai.
It reminded me of your batting, your drinking, actually, back in the day, mate. You came out of the blocks very, very hard, to be fair. Me and Blackie were just sat there in Leopold's going, oh, this lad's giving it a good nudge. Yeah, that following net, I can remember watching you bat. I think you'd had your obs knocked over about 3 or 4 times in a row. And do you remember I went to the back of the net saying, you've had a bit of a stinker of a net, son. Last thing that could happen now is you get hit in the head. The next ball, you got clanged straight in the grill, didn't you?
I reckon I'd given up picking my subs back up as well by then.
Yeah, I think to be fair, you've learned a bit. Hopefully, it was a good life experience. I can actually remember getting an almighty telling off from Rosie, because when we went to that rooftop bar, they also served some mojitos. And when you're away and you don't realise the old rupee, US dollar, pound conversion, we ran up a $550 bill for our mojitos and lager that day. So Fair play.
I thought it was a good trip though, because I reckon it was only a year or two later sent me to South Africa with you, and you did the same to Lewis Gregory.
Yeah, there is a trend here. Have a pre-season tour when you're about 16, 17 with Pete Trego, and you will play for England. So I'll take that on. I might pass on that information to Morsey for the youngsters at Notts. But it's been awesome chatting to you two. Miss you dearly as teammates, but I'm sure we'll see each other on the county circuit. Thanks to Bessie and Jos. I hope everyone watching this has enjoyed the show. This is the kind of thing we were hoping to do out in the great wide world for the Clubhouse. If you've enjoyed the chat and you want to see some more of your favourite stars talking a bit of trash with me, then please subscribe and follow and get involved with the Clubhouse. Thanks again, and cheers, you two.
Cheers, Treeks.